Hello, and welcome to What's Next Wall Street. I am Georgia Alfredas.
And I'm Dave Mathews, and this is a show about stocks, crypto, and the new decentralized financial Web3 world around us.
I've got details on all the hot new trending products that everybody's talking about, using, and investing in. And remember how cool it was when you got your first electric toothbrush? Well, wait till you take your first ride in an electric plane.
Mine was the Snoopy brush a toothbrush.
I had that one
when
too.
You get up in the morning.
We are such quintessential Gen Xers. What's wrong with us?
Gnarly, dude.
Right.
Well, I'm going to talk about how you can probably easily fix what you think is a broken gadget for the price of a glass of wine.
Okay.
And no screwdriver.
I love it. We've got Greg Krause, lead instructor at OptionsPlayers.com, as our expert. Greg charts a lot of these companies, and those chart indicators can show where a particular stock is headed so that it's easier to target investment potential. So Greg combines technical analysis with fundamental knowledge.
That's right. And our goal is to help you become a more informed trader with a tailored trade plan so that you can stay up to speed with What's Next Wall Street and keep stacking financial gains.
So here's how you can get at us. You can email us at OptionsPlayers.com or hit us up on social media at What's Next Wall Street with your questions. We can also direct you to instructors and experts over at OptionsPlayers.com who dig into those trading fundamentals.
You can watch episodes on the Options Players YouTube channel or listen to our podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
So listen, whether you're listening, whether you're listening, to the podcast or watching us on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and hit the alert button so that you always know what's next on Wall Street. And listen, we need the likes, we need the stars, and we need you to subscribe because we're like fine wine. So we need 5 stars. Thank you.
So Georgia, I know you're talking about electric cars during your consumer trend segment, but did you see this? The world's first all-electric passenger plane is getting ready to take off.
Ooh.
The aircraft, called the Alice, went through engine testing in the Seattle area last week and is just a few weeks away from its first customer delivery, DHL. The Israeli company Aviation developed the plane and says it will be able to fly for 1 hour, more than 500 miles after just 30 minutes of charging. The 9-passenger plane has a maximum cruising speed of over 280 miles an hour, and the company hopes electric planes that can carry up to 40 passengers will be flying in 7 to 10 years. Now, all my friends know I love aircraft, but think about it, Georgia. When an airplane flies with fuel, it burns and the plane becomes lighter,
right.
So you get more range. With a battery-powered plane, the weight is a constant value, while the charge and thus engine power depletes to nothing. Now, that puts me in an engineering Pandora's box dilemma.
Hello. Listen, I rented a Tesla for a little road trip, and I was in a bit of a panic because I kept seeing that little alert light saying we need to stop and refuel, so to speak. And if you've ever driven through Texas, then you know you could see miles and miles and miles of Texas before you see signs of civilization. So I don't know about flying in an electric plane. However, did you see this? Now, the largest non-government-based electric train fleet in the world is coming to the Midwest. Omaha-based Union Pacific is spending over $100 million to develop 20 battery-powered trains in the next 2 years. Now, a company news release says they plan to use rail yards in California and Nebraska to test the train's development. Now, they want to see if it's how it is in warm weather, how it is in cold weather, and they're going to do like a climate action plan, which they announced in December 2021. So we'll see what happens with that.
Now, I love flying my camera drones, but as far as moving my body goes, I'm all about the electric devices being tethered by gravity versus buzzing around.
I'm with you on that.
Today's pro tip is brought to you by OptionsPlayers.com. Now, we've discussed the importance of trading within a system, and one system that's really popular with the Options Players members is the secret sauce developed by our show's very own Greg Krause. Now, the secret sauce is a system that determines the highest probability entries and exits. Briefly, give us a little more about this sauce you're cooking up over there, Greg.
Yeah, so the secret sauce course, the sauce, which was named by the students, the sauce, was really a moving average play along with some VWAPs and things like that. But what the system really does is builds on trading momentum. But then also, instead of just saying, hey, we're purchasing here, we look at if we purchase here, based upon our supports and resistances that we come up with, what is the likelihood that we will make more money than we will lose? So we're using probability on how much we'll make versus how much we could possibly lose on each trade. So kind of learning how to do risk to reward in a sense. And then that's the focus of it. And then the sauce is just a way to actually trade that system.
I love it. Okay, Greg. Now, I know you're set to begin live stream trading at OptionsPlayers.com soon. I'm excited to see that. More details? Like, what's that going to be like?
Yeah, so we're just going to, since I don't really do much now that I'm retired, I'm just going to be online helping people. It's not going to be like I'm going to tell you to buy this or buy that. That's not what I'm going to do. First off, I don't want to be responsible for you losing money. And then, you know, if you make money, you can pat me on the back, but I don't, that's always a problem. But I'll be there to help you guide. And so you learn from those mistakes when you do lose money, but also learn from those successes. And then who knows what we'll actually do online. We also will have other members of OptionsPlayers.com on there with us. So you can also talk to them also while I'm live.
Okay, cool. I'm excited about that. I'm really excited. So this is the part of the show where we get to hear from you. You can always hit us up on social media at What's Next Wall Street, comment on our YouTube page, or email us at WNW@OptionsPlayers.com.
Brian in Dallas asks, with recent geopolitical tensions, 9% year-over-year inflation, and the prospect of 3 to 5% interest rate hikes in 2022, how do you see these as catalysts to further scare markets to the downside? Now, Greg, the Fed said that they aren't raising interest rates yet, and they also have no roadmap to do so. But what's up with all this? Is this just a short-term pause?
No, I mean, the Feds have said they should raise rates. And I mean, with the economy is doing as good as the Feds say it is, why aren't rates going up? Now, I can get into a whole issue of why rates being low actually hurts the economy. Now, it makes it look good on paper, but really what it does is transfers wealth to individuals who own assets. Hence, takes away money from the normal people, gives it all to the rich people that own. So if you want to know the number one reason why there's a large gap in wealth, it's because of these artificially low inflation rates, which interest rates, which causes inflation and passes it on to the next person. Now, the number one thing probably feared that we've kind of seen is inflation. I think more people are worried about inflation than they're worried about COVID, or they're worried about the rate hikes. What will inflation do? The one thing I think you all know, I don't care what the Fed says. You know, they're all like, oh, there's not going to be inflation, and then there's 9%. And then they say, no, inflation's not going to happen. Then it continues to go up. We all know it's there. We all shop. You see the prices of everything is almost just gone up crazy. It's not 9% higher. All right. But now we're looking at rate hikes. It is an election year, and people say the Feds aren't politicians. Yes, they are. Okay. Just stop. All right. So, because they get appointed. So let's really talk about it. So I think March, we may see a rate hike. And then sometime in the summertime, maybe let's just say June, I think. So if I was to bet, I would say March and June we'll get a rate hike. And then maybe one in the September range. If it wasn't an election year, I would say September, just normally when they would rate one historically. But because of the election, the midterm election, they might not do that, and they might push it, and you might see it in December, because that's kind of been historically the things also there. So if we do see 3, it is what it is. And where do you want to actually go into those, and what do you want to trade? You'll probably see, banks and things doing good on that. But everybody thinks one company is inflation proof, economic proof, everything proof, and that's Apple. So you'll probably see, where the market goes, Apple's going to lead its way. And even then, it might not even go down, even with all this fear, because when you ask something, what's safe in inflation, everybody says Apple. So,
okay.
All right.
Let me tell you something. If you ask Greg a question, just know he's going to give you an answer, and it's going to be a Greg answer. I don't even know how to explain Gregism, but there's going to be a Gregism. You know what
truth.
else?
That's
Yeah,
it.
it's truth. But he also, let me tell you, Greg does not like politics or politicians. It is hilarious. Greg, we love you. Both from California writes, what sectors do you see the most volatility persisting in through Q2 and Q3? And what advice would you have for people looking to trade those sectors? Greg, what do you see in your little crystal ball?
All right, so what sectors? I'll say first, let's talk about politics. So what
Your
are
favorite.
politicians trying to do? Either your bet or if we're talking about Build Back Better plan or whatever it is, renewable energy, clean energy. So I think renewable energy is a solid sector to be in. Nobody's like, I mean, you might say one side's like, oh, there's nothing as this, but what it is, investors like money, renewable energy or new types of energy is here to stay. So there's a lot of new companies in there. So there's money to be made. Number two, because of inflation and because of raising rates, your financial stocks will likely outperform the market. Also, we're talking about banks and things like that. And then you can also go into miners. So a lot of people that trade miners will trade like an EFT that's leveraged for gold, but you can actually go trade gold mining stocks also independently and not have to pay that leverage fee for those leveraged EFTs. So renewable energy, financial stocks, and instead of just purchasing gold, you can purchase like a gold miner, a few gold miner companies or something like that. Probably be these sectors that I think will outpace the rest in sector or Q2 and Q3.
Awesome. Thank you. Listen, if you've got a question, we can answer it, or we'll find someone else who can. So hit us up on social media at What's Next Wall Street, or in the comments section on our YouTube page, or you can email us at WNW@OptionsPlayers.com with your questions.
All right, sometimes your gadgets like cable modems, routers, or even your battery-powered vacuum cleaner may die. But is it really your gadget or the charger or maybe even its cable? Now, I've seen this happen on my own gear as well as friends and even my brother, so that makes it a theme. And Georgia, what do we like to talk about on this show? Themes. All right. So every modern digital device has a power supply that's external from the gadget that powers it. And those can easily be upgraded or replaced. Now think about it. The iPhone doesn't even come from Apple with its charger anymore. They expect you to use your old one, or chances are you lost it and bought a new few more replacement cube chargers. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I knew I was right. So the companies that make the gadgets you buy specify a voltage amperage, which is a measured force of current. They buy these generic power supplies from a couple different manufacturers because they are UL listed. That means Underwriter Laboratories has blessed them not to catch fire and burn your house or something else down.
Right.
So these power supplies are mass produced by the millions, and they use capacitors to hold and stabilize a charge. And here's what a group of capacitors look like. Now, as you can see, I have a bunch of them. So I used to repair my capacitors, and they fail so frequently. You can fix these, but it's tricky. And when they burn out, it sometimes takes out a resistor or another component next to them. But what's nice about the power supplies themselves is generally they're all the same. And what I mean is they push out either 9, 5, 12 volts, and they generally host a push of a few watts for most devices. So when you need to replace one, you can look on Amazon or eBay for the specific numbers on the back of your power supply. And these are generally just $5 or $10. But do you know what I do?
What?
Well, whenever I toss a piece of equipment, like an old generation Wi-Fi adapter, I throw the power adapter in a box. That way, I have one when I need one. It's nice to have one handy.
Yeah, but wait, I have so many power adapters that don't work with anything in my entire house. Like, really?
Well, there are different fittings on the end, so you do have to match the size of the fitting. But what you can do on your bad one is you just cut it off. You can measure the voltage by something called a multimeter.
Okay.
And then you can solder a new end on it, and it'll work.
Okay, for you maybe. I don't see that working for me, but really?
Well,
How do you even know the difference in these? And look at all these.
Well, the capacitor fix is a little bit more difficult. I'm more into repurposing an old power supply to do something else. And that's why I like to try another power supply, and I don't even bother testing the old one, because sometimes they can put off enough power, but they're not putting the right amperage out.
Right.
So you don't even need to test the old one.
Okay.
But look, this could be a good tip for you if you've got some old gear and it was running. Maybe the LEDs were weak and it looked like the device had booted up, but the product wouldn't work until you gave it a fresh adapter. That's happened to me as well. So hopefully with this tech tip, you can get some more life out of your old stuff that's really not broken. And if you can't read the numbers on the back of these power supplies that show the voltage, just take your camera phone, hit the zoom button, and take a photo, and you'll be able to see exactly what kind of power supply you need.
Okay, you know what else we need? We need to look awesome, right? So listen to this. This is the thing we like to do on this show. We like to tell you about amazing new products that we actually use. Okay, I'm sorry. I want to go over here and touch this stuff so bad. Okay, but one thing we love to use is OneSkin. Now, I'm not going to tell you my age, but let's just say I look really good for 72. Seriously though. OneSkin harnesses the science of aging by developing products that extend the length of time that skin is healthy and youthful. Don't take my word for it. Take OneSkin's founding team of PhD level aging experts. OneSkin is vegan and it's cruelty free and it's safe and it's clean. That's really important to me. Also important is since, I've been using OneSkin, I've seen my skin become more hydrated. It's more smooth. It's more firm. It just feels healthier. And kind of looks good. I'm not bragging. I'm just
You're
happy.
bragging.
I'm bragging, but I'm just really happy and relieved that I found OneSkin. And it's not just for me because I keep finding it on my husband's vanity. Thank goodness for my subscription because I get a new one every 30 days.
Now, OneSkin was created by many female doctors,
Love
so this
that.
is legit stuff. It smells like a cool peanut oil, and it's not peanuts.
Yeah.
And I just got back from Arizona. I was in the desert using it, and San Francisco, and it was wet there, and this OneSkin still felt amazing on my face.
Yes. See, it's for everybody. See, you're like my husband. Stop using my stuff, but it doesn't matter because I get a new bottle every 30 days. Visit oneskin.co/WNWS and use code WNWS for 15% off your first purchase. All right, so one of the world's biggest energy companies is moving from its longtime headquarters. ExxonMobil has announced that it's leaving its Irving, Texas location near Dallas and consolidating to its 385-acre campus near Houston. CEO Darren Woods says the relocation is going to help them streamline business operations and grow shareholder value. Really? I feel like there's more to this story than meets the eye, okay?
Skeptical much?
Yes, and here's why. Electric cars and apparently trains and planes and everything else are the wave of the future. Skip the history lesson, Dave and Greg. I know we use oil for things other than cars. I get it, but I'm just saying 2022 is going to see nearly twice as many electric vehicle options as 2021 did. And there's a big change in the kind of electric car that we're seeing. We're now seeing a lot more pickup trucks and SUVs. Listen. One of the things that kept me from buying an electric car in the past is that it was just too dang small. Give me a big old SUV that can make me feel like a badass mommy who's also saving the planet, and I am so sold. And it's not just me. Sources say over 50% of adults plan on buying an electric vehicle soon. Of those adults, the people most likely to buy an electric vehicle, millennials. Okay, least likely, baby boomers. Makes sense because millennials are the target market. Now, millennials are more likely to be environmentally conscious and technologically oriented. So look, it took me 2 years to figure out how to use my heated steering wheel. I couldn't find the switch. So yeah, I get it. I'm true Generation X, but you are as well. So Dave, you could take my steering wheel like literally apart and put it back in my car, but I digress. Okay. So my question to you, Greg, is should I buy the vehicle? Should I invest in it or should I invest in the technology behind the vehicle?
Yeah, Georgia. So should you buy the vehicle? I think buying the vehicle is more about where you live than if it's worth buying it. For example, where I live, where am I going to charge it? If I drive anywhere, there's nowhere to charge. Now, you can charge it at your house, but the average house cannot charge one of those vehicles very efficiently overnight. So, if you work near and it's limited miles, you could probably get away with it. If you're out in the middle of nowhere and you might say, like my wife used to work for hospice as a clinical social worker, she could drive 200 miles a day, but then there's no way I could charge that car for 200 miles every night. But now invest in it. That's probably where it is. Like I said, I think the renewable energy will be a go-to point here. And now a lot of other companies are catching up with Tesla and on the investment type. I don't think anybody's catching them on the technology yet, but at least on the investment thing, you're seeing Ford and other people's evaluation get back to a higher level, like they're actually doing something in the future with electric cars. But I think for buying the car, that's all up to you on whether or not it would be efficient for you to do so. But other than that, if you can buy the car, it could actually provide you money. Go rent that car. You've rented a Tesla before. So you can, instead of investing in the company, go buy 3 or 4 Teslas and then go put them on a company I'm not going to promote. They want to pay you some money, .com.
That's interesting. We haven't talked about that before, where you can actually take your car and lend it out to other people in, I don't know, NFL markets. I don't know if it's everywhere across the country. But I've gone to cities where I wanted a cool car to drive to a car show, and I've looked it up. Now, the guys jacked the prices up during the car show, and because I like to arbitrage rental car companies and pay less than $50 a day, I don't do the $200 a day. But some of these really nice cars on these apps, you can get for $1,000 a day.
Yeah, so that's what we did with a Tesla. Took a drive. I was like, let me know I don't want a Tesla. So that was good. My son's first day of school, I forget what car we rented. It was like a Firebird. It wasn't a Firebird. It was a Viper. So instead of him wanting to go to school in his daddy's Aston Martin, he wanted to go to school in a Viper. Guess what that Viper did? Broke down at school.
No.
And he was not even embarrassed. I was like, oh my gosh, how embarrassing. He could care less. He was like, so cool, a Viper. I'm like, what?
What a great story. I got to hear how that feedback went back and forth with that app company on what the tow charge was paid for, you or the owner. So, hey, what a great show. We want to thank lead instructor and options players Greg Krause for being here with us today.
Hey, remember, if you've got questions, we can try to help you answer them, and we'd love to hear from you. So email us at WNWS@OptionsPlayers.com. Hit us up on social media at What's Next Wall Street. If you are listening to our podcast, make sure that you subscribe. Make sure that you hit us up with 5 stars. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit the alert button so that you can get these alerts when we have new episodes up.
That's right. You can watch the show. You can listen to it. If you want to see us, go to the YouTube page for Options Players or listen to us on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcast. I'm Dave Mathews.
And I'm George Alfredas. See you next time on What's Next Wall Street.